Welcome to Cooking with Bobby Joe. Today I'm going to be making baked pasta shells with homemade spaghetti sauce. I have this big glass canister that I store my pasta in, and I'm just filling my pot halfway with these shells. And I'm doing this backwards because I get things mixed up sometimes. Typically, the way it's done is you wait for the water to boil, then you add in the pasta. This time I added my pasta, filled the pot with water, added in a teaspoon of olive oil, and then boiled it. Like I said, it's backwards, but it still worked. So preheat the oven to 375 degrees. And while I wait for the pasta to start boiling, I'm going to go ahead and brown the ground beef. I'm just going to smash it all up and get it into smaller pieces. And then I add in a tablespoon of garlic and I mix it all together into the beef. Okay, now while that is cooking, we're going to go ahead and make the spaghetti sauce. And for this, you will need to watch last week's video where we made the stewed tomatoes from the 15 tomatoes I got from my garden. I'll put a link in the video and also in the video description if you need to see that video. There is also a link to the written recipe in the video description. And I knew Steve would have texture issues with the stewed tomatoes, and I didn't want to eat stewed tomatoes every day of the week by myself, so I decided to turn it into spaghetti sauce. And this is very, very simple to do. All you do is you take the leftovers and pour it in the blender. Blend it until it's smooth like a sauce. And I'm trying to pour this with one hand while holding the camera with the other. So let's blend it all together. See, that looks like sauce now. This will solve all of Steve's texture issues. And I'm multitasking here. My pasta is boiling, so I'm going to give it a stir to make sure it isn't sticking to the bottom of the pot since I put it in before the water was boiling. Okay, now that the ground beef is done, we will drain the grease off of it and then add in the sauce. And you want to mix it all together. The sauce is going to need to be thickened some, and there are two ways to do this. You can add in a small can of tomato paste to thicken it, or you can add cornstarch. I'm going with the cornstarch because I haven't made any tomato paste and I don't have any cans of tomato paste. So I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of cornstarch with 2 tablespoons of water and mix it all together until the cornstarch is dissolved. And then you pour that into the sauce and you simmer until it thickens a little. And if it's not as thick as you like it, do another tablespoon of cornstarch. And typically I would bake this in my cast iron skillet, but I think it will overflow once I add the pasta. I usually bake this in my 9x13 Pyrex dish, but it broke when we moved. And my mother-in-law had this one for me to use. I thought I was spraying it with non-stick cooking spray, but it ended up being my baking spray with flour in it, so that's why it looks so thick. I'm still having brain issues since COVID, and today is an extra special day for that. Either way, it should not stick. My pasta boiled for about 8 minutes, but just go by whatever the box says with the pasta you use. You don't have to use shells. You can use spaghetti noodles. You can use whatever kind of pasta you want. Then you want to pour your pasta into the dish, then pour in the sauce. And this is pretty close to the top. I'm going to take my wooden spoon and try to get the sauce down into the pasta. Doesn't that look good? It smells good. Okay, and then I'm going to sprinkle Parmesan cheese all over the top. I'm going to find a pan to put this dish on. I don't think it will bubble over, but just in case, I like to have something to catch it so I'm not stuck scrubbing the oven later. This ought to work. Okay, so put it in the oven for 30 minutes. I have some garlic knots I'm baking to go with it, so I'm going to stick those in the oven the last 5 minutes of baking time. After 30 minutes, pull it out of the oven and look at that delicious meal. We will be eating this for a few days. And Steve loved this, by the way, and I forgot to get him to do a review. I knew he would because he liked the taste of the stewed tomatoes, he just didn't like the squishy tomatoes. All of my recipe links can be found in the video descriptions, and don't forget to tune back in on Friday for the next episode of the Lake Hill City Birds. Thanks for watching. Have a blessed day.